Raphael makes landfall in western Cuba as a major Category 3 hurricane. An additional tropical development is possible for the week ahead. Your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi friends, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. We're your home for Caribbean weather, and it's nice to see you on a Wednesday. Hope you're doing well. Coming up in this video, Raphael has become a major hurricane, just made landfall in western Cuba. I've got all the newest information. We'll talk about the impacts Cuba is seeing, the impacts that have been felt in other places like the Cayman Islands and Jamaica earlier as Raphael moved through, where the storm is going, in additional areas of potential tropical development, not just this area, which by the way is bringing some active weather to the Lesser Antilles and the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico for today, but a couple of other spots to keep an eye on. As always, I love to hear from you guys. Appreciate those who joined me for the two live streams we did yesterday tracking Raphael across Jamaica and the Cayman Islands. If you've been impacted by the storm or you're currently being impacted, let us know in the comments section below so the Meteo Mundo weather community can give you guys some positive vibes and thoughts. Let's get into the video. Obviously, we'll start off with the newest information on Raphael. Unfortunately, as we ended yesterday's live stream as it moved through the Cayman Islands, was really concerned that there was nothing stopping this from getting stronger, and that's exactly what happened today. It became a major Category 3 hurricane, winds of 115 miles an hour as it has made landfall here in the Cuban province of Artemisa near the Gulf of Batabano, basically just west of the Havana area. Again, Category 3 hurricane. The winds that you see are gusts. Offshore here, some of the islands, they had an 80-mile-an-hour wind gust earlier. Havana recently just reported a 71. So they're going to have some major wind problems with this storm. Obviously, you're talking about structural damage. You're talking about trees going down, leading to some power outages. Rainfall-wise, you're looking at 4 to 8 inches of rain in some areas, but additionally and locally up to 12 inches. That's going to cause flash flooding, landslides, and mudslides. And again, this storm is just beginning to move over the western portions of the islands. On the southern shoreline, we have the potential for a 6 to 9 foot storm surge as far east as the Cienfuegos area, where we continue obviously with a hurricane warning. But damage for a major populated area like Havana, unfortunately, is expected to be on the major side. Now, once Raphael moves over the island and moves to the north, it is forecast to actually take a fairly quick turn to the north and to the west. This is different from yesterday's forecast in a big way, where it was much more into the north central Gulf of Mexico. Now, that being said, it's still going to get close enough where we expect tropical storm conditions for the lower and the middle Keys, and those tropical storm warnings are still in effect in those areas. As far as a storm surge goes, the dry Tortugas can have a 1 to 3 foot storm surge. The lower Keys could have a 1 to 2 foot storm surge. Generally, we can handle that. Got to watch out for the high tide cycles along with the higher water levels, but hopefully our friends from Marathon to Key West will do okay. Look, very breezy winds here, 30, 35 mile an hour winds kind of all day. And there's been a fair amount of rain and moisture that's been pumped up into Florida. There's going to be no direct impacts here for Florida or the Bahamas, but we continue with the near gale conditions across portions of the northwest and northern Bahamas. Nassau, New Providence, a 31 mile an hour wind. Freeport, Lucaya there on Grand Bahama, a 35 mile an hour wind. Latest track turn again has been well off towards the west compared to yesterday, but I mentioned it in yesterday's live streams. There wasn't a lot of agreement at all in where this would move into the Gulf of Mexico. It is forecast now to basically turn west into the south central and eventually the west central Gulf. Could see some rain for the Yucatan out of this, but no direct impacts. And my hope is, as it gets into the west central Gulf, that it will just fade away. It's going to encounter much more wind shear, some cooler sea surface temperatures, and some drier air. And hopefully the combination of all those three will allow it to not have any impact for the Gulf Coast states or portions of Mexico. But you know I'm going to keep a very close eye on it. Now again, friends, we not only have the 17th named storm in Raphael, we now have the 11th hurricane and now the 5th major hurricane of the Atlantic hurricane season. All of those numbers are well in line with NOAA's forecast from the beginning of the year. No, it doesn't look like we're going to get towards the higher end, but even though there's been some lulls in the activity of the 2024 Atlantic hurricane season, it has been an active one, and I think we've still got some activity to talk about here, at least over the next week or two. So we'll get into that in just a second. Let's get into the other areas that have been impacted by the storm. We'll go back to the Cayman Islands, where even on the wake of Raphael, well. We continue to have some heavy rain, some very breezy conditions here, 2 to 4 inches of rain in portions of Grand Cayman, Little Cayman, and Cayman Brac. Hopefully our friends in Little Cayman and Brac are doing okay. Know the power was out, but hopefully it's because the power officials did that on purpose before the storm arrived. If you know anyone who lives on these islands or you do yourself, please let us know in the comment section below how you're doing today. It's been a wet day, soggy day, same thing for Grand Cayman with some breezy conditions. Got some video from Selena Membrino here when the storm passed just east of Grand Cayman. Now, it's some pretty good sheets of rain. That's some pretty gusty conditions there in Grand Cayman. And again, in general, the island was spared, but you can see that rain just going sideways there as Raphael moved east of the island right over Little Cayman and Cayman Brac yesterday. Appreciate Selena sending in that video. But you get the idea that even about 50, 60 miles east of where the storm moved and on the western side, which is the weaker side of the storm, it was pretty rough. Now, my friends in Jamaica had to deal with some very heavy rainfall late yesterday. It led to some localized flooding. The rain, for the most part, has been able to dissipate on this Wednesday, and it did so relatively early today. Still some showers on the western side of the island, Montego Bay towards Negril, St. James, and portions of Hanover, Westmoreland parishes. If you live in Jamaica, let me know how you came out of this storm. If there was additional flooding today in your area, and especially for the western side of the island near Negril, if there was any wind damage, power outages or trees down, just let the Meteo Mundo community know how you guys are doing. Showers and storms will continue for the eastern sides of Cuba. We continue with some active weather for portions of Hispaniola, but today it's been a little bit quieter compared to the last couple of afternoons for us here. But this is where we have another area to watch. Now, generally speaking, guys, we have this broad trough with a 30% chance of tropical development as it moves off towards the west. And that's something we'll talk about and something I'm going to closely monitor. But regardless of tropical development, you got some active weather for today. Portions of the northern Leeward Islands, Anguilla, St. Barts, St. Martin, Saba, St. Kitts, St. Eustatius, just very active weather here, even back down towards Barbuda and Antigua. But the showers and storms really prominent from St. Kitts north and then into portions of the U.S. and British Virgin Islands for today. I'm just going to take off that area of potential development because we know it's there. Take a look at Road Town, Tortola, over a 30-mile-an-hour wind, Virgin Gorda, Anegada, showers and storms there, Yost Van Dyke, St. Thomas, St. John, St. Croix, all again with showers and storms across the area. Additional storms have developed over portions of Puerto Rico from Fajardo on over towards Carolina and San Juan, pushing off towards the west. At this point in time, more rain there. Look at that. San Juan had a 40-mile-an-hour wind gust earlier in the day. This is what the live rain looks like here from the radar out of Puerto Rico. And look how wet and stormy this is. First of all, good lightning here. Vega Baja on over towards the Arecibo area. Corozal moving off towards the west. We've got some rain for Guayama on over towards Yabacoa. And again, it's just a wet, active day. 31-mile-an-hour wind gusts right now just south of Fajardo. Rain for Vieques and Culebra. Scattered showers near St. Croix. Just really solid rain right now for St. Thomas, St. John, and the rest of the British Virgin Islands towards Anegada. And this will continue. High rain chances the next several days with that trough just to the north and the opportunity for some excessive rainfall that I'll continue to monitor for your area as well. This is what it looks like on the visible satellite imagery, and enhanced with that infrared as well. And again, just pretty active weather. We're losing the daylight hours. It stinks. I hate it this time of the year. It gets dark so early here, but you get the idea that this is just a big area of instability to continue to monitor. And we've had other scattered showers across portions of the Lesser Antilles as well. Dominica and Martinique and St. Lucia and Barbados with some passing showers and some winds that approach 30 miles an hour or more. A little bit of lightning there as well. A little bit of a break for St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada for today, but we've had a few showers and storms roll off the South American coastline towards Trinidad and Tobago, Nueva Esparta included in that. And my friends in the ABC Islands for today have had at least some passing showers. Curacao with a 33-mile-an-hour wind gust there. And we've had a little bit of active weather back over to portions of Honduras and Nicaragua. But I got to tell you something, as Raphael has pulled away, it's promoted drier air for most of the Yucatan and Central America, which is good. They could use a little bit of reprieve. But as I mentioned, the ABC Islands have had some rain for today. And Jaden sent in this video. There's a nice little storm cloud rolling through Aruba today as well. Hopefully you've got some of the showers across the ABC Islands. And if you've done so, please let me know in the comment section below. Friends, as we get into the forecast, again, appreciate all of you joining us here for the live streams. Thank you for all the support recently. Thank you for liking this video. Thank you for subscribing to Meteo Mundo. You want these daily forecasts across the Caribbean and the Bahamas, sharing this with your family and friends, and finding ways to support the channel as well. So now we're going to get into the tropical forecast, and then we're going to take a look at the island by island rainfall forecast over the next several days as well. Let's break down, first of all, what's going to be happening with Raphael. So again, we're back to watching this storm as a major hurricane moving across western Cuba. Notice that the tropical storm force winds are going to get close to Key West, where we do have, and that's where those areas in blue show, and that's why we still have our tropical storm warning. So there's an opportunity there for some tropical storm conditions, but generally speaking, I'm hoping it's getting into the south central Gulf of Mexico and will stay a fish storm, and then we'll just fizzle out before we get any additional problems into the western Gulf. So hopefully for our friends in places like South Texas or the northern sides of Mexico, this is not going to be problematic. I'm not expecting it to be, so we'll keep our fingers crossed there. Let's talk about it on the GFS model. Again, the GFS has always been slightly weak with Raphael. Never had it as strong of a storm as it ended up being, but it is farther west than what it was yesterday. Remember, yesterday's GFS had this going up towards places like New Orleans or Mississippi or Louisiana. It does take the track right until about here, and then it stalls it out. But let me be clear, on the actual forecast from the National Hurricane Center, this plot point and this plot point are 24 hours from each other. We're not expecting this to do much once it gets into the western Gulf of Mexico. Hopefully it just kind of fizzled out, and regardless of whether it turns north or goes to the west, it might bring a batch of rain and a little bit of breezy conditions, but I don't really expect it to do more than that. And if it goes north, it actually interacts with a cold front that'll be coming through the eastern United States and just kind of gets absorbed into that. Might produce a little bit of rain to the northern Gulf Coast if the GFS plays out, but again, to be clear, I don't expect this to be an impactful storm for the Gulf Coast of the U.S., and I'll keep a very close eye on that. Now, back over to this area in yellow, this is going to be a more impactful storm, believe it or not, after Raphael moves across Cuba. Obviously, Cuba taking the very big brunt of what Raphael is bringing right now. But this elongated area, regardless of whether this becomes a tropical depression or a tropical storm, Sarah is the next name, by the way, again, more heavy rain, more gusty conditions here for the Lesser Antilles, portions of the Leeward Islands especially, the U.S. and British Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, and eventually into Hispaniola, the Dominican Republic and Haiti, the Turks of the Caicos, and at least the southeast, if not the central sides of the Bahamas. Notice that the GFS model does not wrap this up into a tropical storm, okay? It stays just a very open area, but extremely strong winds to come out of this. There's also more moisture coming to the south, where additional heavier rain is possible for the Lesser Antilles and down towards the Windward Islands as well. Again, friends, this is a very active time across our area here. There's a lot of instability. There's a lot of lift in the atmosphere in so many areas, and that's giving us the opportunity for the additional tropical development. But regardless if anything tries to spin up here, there's a lot of rain and a lot of wind to move through our area at least through the mid part of November, okay? And as those waves come in, as those troughs of low pressure develop, there's still plenty of spin in the atmosphere, plenty of lift. Sea surface temperatures are warm enough, wind shear is low, where we could get additional tropical development. Again, in this area, it's a 30% chance, but I think that there's more than just this area to monitor. As a matter of fact, down the road here, we might be looking into the east central or the central sides of the Caribbean for an area that could be a potential development zone as well. But you can just see wet weather here for these areas regardless of development. Now, look at the winds associated with this. Let's take a look at this. I'm going to bring up the wind gusts. Let me take off a couple of things here. We'll just make it easier to see. So obviously this storm, Raphael, is going to blow hard, but watch it fall apart. That's what we want here in the western side of the Gulf of Mexico. But look at the broad wind that this trough is going to bring across portions of the Greater Antilles and into the Bahamas. 20, 25, 30-mile-an-hour sustained winds for the next several days. The near gale conditions for the Bahamas, into the Turks, the Caicos, but not just that, the northern sides of the Dominican Republic and Haiti, and the northern sides of Puerto Rico as well. Just really strong, fresh winds as just a highlight here. Let me go back to today and then move it to just tomorrow, right around lunchtime. Look at the winds offshore here of Puerto Rico. 35 miles an hour. Nearer the island, 15 to 20, 25, all right? And again, that's a large wind field like that. You're gonna get fresh winds across the Bahamas as well. And obviously, as this storm pulls away, just as a highlight, the potential gusts on the GFS, right, which is slightly east, but not much, are pushing 45 to close to 50 miles an hour, especially for portions of the dry Tortugas. So overnight, places like Key West should expect some wind gusts approaching 50 miles an hour with the storm, but it does thankfully pull away from that area relatively quickly. All right, so now let's talk about the models and what might be happening not only with Raphael, but with areas in the Western Atlantic and the Caribbean. European model has been doing this the last couple of days, about the same track the Hurricane Center has. As it gets close to Mexico, it starts to fall apart a bit, but the European tries to hold it on just a little bit longer. We'll see how that plays out here, right? Whether it can actually go that far west before it ultimately dies. So that's what the European deterministic shows. Let's go back to our ensembles. Here's the GFS. Again, ultimately dissipating this storm in the west central Gulf of Mexico, maybe a little bit of a north movement before it does so, but we're looking pretty good as far as that goes. Now, don't see a lot with our one system with the 30% chance, but take a look towards next Tuesday and Wednesday, 6 and 7 days out. More signals here in the central and the eastern Caribbean for potential development in these areas. And again, this is not 10, 14 days out. This is just the next 6 or 7 days. Next Tuesday into Wednesday, we have several signals. I will grant you that there is a large swath of potential here, but just the fact that the GFS model is picking up on the development potential shows you the instability and the turbulence that I expect us to see in our area for at least the week ahead. This is the European deterministic models. Again, very tightly clustered, a little bit of a stronger storm in the Western Gulf, hopefully fizzling that out though. We have one signal of development here with a 30% chance. But as we get into next Tuesday, Wednesday, and this would be late Wednesday night, basically 7 days from now, here you go. Additional signals in the Caribbean, just like the GFS. There's nothing to really point at and say this is where we need to watch this area, but you get the idea that this will be a zone that I'll be monitoring very closely here. And again, it's just an area and a region that I expect has the opportunity for development here as we get into early next week. All right, let's talk about other areas and the rainfall, and we'll look at the island by island forecast for you here coming up. Now, obviously this will bear some watching. There we go. It is going to loop up for me. Obviously this area will bear some watching. We'll have the rain that I mentioned here. By the way, it's just going to be really squally weather for the Lesser Antilles in general, right? And taking all the way out to the 12th, but for the next several days. Look at that, the rain for St. Lucia and Martinique and Barbados just coming in here as we get into, this would be Friday the 8th into Saturday. Windward Islands are wet, Nueva Esparta scattered showers. I've actually got a 40% chance for rain for the ABC Islands the next several days. There's your just active weather. High rain chances for the Leeward Islands, for the U.S. and British Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, portions of Haiti and the Dominican Republic, Turks and Caicos as well. Eventually, we're going to throw in a lot more rain into the southeast and the south central Bahamas as well. So for places like Exuma and Long Island and the Acklins, Mayaguana, rain chances going up, but even Nassau and Eleuthera and the Abacos and Bimini and Grand Bahama will see better rain chances as well. For our friends in Jamaica who need a little bit of drier air, I have you guys drying out a bit as the storm pulls away, okay? We should see drier conditions tomorrow and Friday, and then a better chance for some showers returning on Saturday. But hopefully we get a few days of relatively dry weather. Same thing for the Cayman Islands. Should be relatively dry tomorrow and Friday, and then higher rain chances returning as we get into our Saturday, and then just kind of scatter from there. It's a little bit more of an unclear forecast. For the early part of the forecast here, relatively dry Cancun and Cozumel. Again, if the GFS holds true, the storm is on the north side of this line. We'll watch it come in, and although the tip of the Yucatan could be influenced by a little bit of rain there, I'm not expecting much. If there's a south wind as we get into like Sunday, Monday, that could pull in a few showers, but no direct impacts are expected for our friends in Cancun, Cozumel, Tulum areas. Belize should be relatively quiet the next few days. Same thing for Honduras and Guatemala. You get back down towards Nicaragua and Costa Rica and Panama. These are areas that I do expect to have heftier rain totals before it's all said and done over the next few days. Wet weather is possible in those spots. So here's the island by island rain chance for you guys. 20 tomorrow for the Northwest Bahamas, up to a 30 Friday, Saturday. It's a big different story for the Central and Southeast Bahamas. Isolated tomorrow, but scattered to numerous Friday and Saturday. Turks and Caicos goes from a 40% chance tomorrow to an 80% chance on Friday. Obviously, I'll closely monitor any potential tropical development here with that area in yellow. 30% chance Saturday. Cuba, 50 tomorrow, 60 Friday, Saturday. Better chance on the eastern side of the island. Not a lot for the Cayman Islands the next couple days, thank goodness. 50 on Saturday. Belize City, 20 tomorrow, 30 Friday, Saturday. So just isolated rain the next 3 days in Belize City. Cancun, Cozumel, I put it at a 50% chance. We'll just have to see how Raphael goes, but that might actually be slightly high, and we'll cross our fingers that it is. Jamaica, 20% chance tomorrow, 30 Friday, up to a 50 on Saturday. Wet weather for the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. and British Virgin Islands the next several days. 60, 70, 80% chance. Rainfall totals each day could be a few inches, at least 50 millimeters in some spots. No rain expected for Bermuda the next couple days. Look at the high rain chances for Anguilla, St. Kitts and Nevis, especially tomorrow and Friday. Same thing for Antigua and Barbuda. Will dry out a little bit over the weekend, but still a 50% chance for Montserrat, where they have an 80% chance tomorrow. 70 tomorrow, Friday for Guadeloupe. 70, then 80 for Dominica. Lower rain chance tomorrow in Martinique, but it pushes up. And I showed you that next slug of moisture coming into the central and the southern sides of the Lesser Antilles is actually improving rain chances for St. Lucia. So while Antigua and Barbuda's rain chance drops on Saturday, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines goes up. Barbados is going to be wet, 80% chance Friday, 70 on Saturday. High rain chances, Grenada, Trinidad, and Tobago. Again, locally heavy rain. Watch out for some flood conditions there as a possibility. Suriname and Guyana rain chances are high. And there you go, Nueva Esparta, 50 to a 60% chance. And our friends in the ABC Islands with a 40% chance for rain there. That's a nice blank image. That's the wave heights and directions. Couple of things I want to point out. There's Raphael moving west. Could bring some elevated seas to the north central Gulf. This time of the year in November, you get these mid-latitude cyclones developing off the east coast of the United States, and that brings really fresh winds and high sea conditions to the east coast of the U.S. and the Bahamas down to the Turks and Caicos, and that could be developing here. It's a system coming off of the coastline, so you get the initial push of wind with our 30% chance development area. GFS never fully develops that, but then coming from the north, you could have some excessive swells by mid next week. There you see it wrapped up. It's something I'll closely be monitoring. European rainfall totals, again, 4 to 8 up to 12 inches of rain for Western Cuba. Hopefully no more than that for anywhere along the Gulf Coast states. There's your just very general wet weather. I mean, goodness gracious, the Caribbean is painted in red. That's at least 4 inches of rain in most areas, over 100 millimeters, but there will be locally higher amounts than that, certainly. This is the GFS model. I want to show you this. That's just over the next 5 days. What do you say I take this out to a week from now? So I'm just going to take it out to the 13th here, all right? And again, let me just drop off a couple of things to make it easier to see, including that yellow area. There's a lot of rain coming. There's just a lot of rain coming. These grays and these kind of pink colors, fuchsia colors, whatever you want to call it, is indicative of 4+ inches of rain. That's a lot of areas there, right? Nueva Esparta is a little bit drier there. How about the ABC Islands? Let's go. Let's get 2.5 inches of rain. That would be great. Here's some spots that don't want as much rain because they've already had a lot. But Anguilla, Barbuda, Antigua is a little bit drier here. And I can see that playing out because the axis of moisture from our trough is already west of those areas. But take a look at what's happening here in Puerto Rico, especially on the eastern side of the island, the U.S. and British Virgin Islands. We average that out 3 to 5+ inches of rain in a lot of areas. Could be very wet for the eastern sides of the Dominican Republic as well. A little bit drier as you get into Haiti, and then more rain coming into the central and the southeast Bahamas and the Turks and the Caicos. Still drier up here for Grand Bahama and Freeport and Walker's Key, but at least some rain coming. There's the tremendous amount of rain Cuba could see. Again, I think we're even underdoing it a bit here, but if we're getting on the GFS 8 inches of rain, there's going to be some isolated 12-inch totals as well. Cayman Islands, a lot of this is going to have already fallen with what was happening with Raphael, but our friends in Jamaica, all of this would be new. And again, a couple of inches of rain over the next several days is possible in these spots. But look how much more just falls in the open waters of the Caribbean, just active weather. Look at this, by the way, too. If we get pinned here with the Central American gyre, I mean, my goodness, I hope a lot of this is offshore, but some of it might not be. It's something to monitor for Panama and Costa Rica. You live in those areas, could be some active weather even towards Managua and Tegucigalpa as well. This is active for November. Friends, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for following us across all social media, Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook. You want to send me a picture or video like Selena and Jane did, myMediaMundo@gmail.com. Thank you for all of those who did during Raphael. Try to turn as many of those around as I possibly could. A lot of you sent it in. Please keep sending them. It helps tell the story. You got a question about the forecast, drop it in the comments section below while you're down there. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. Back tomorrow with all the newest information. Until then, friends, you take care, and I will see you soon right here at Meteo Mundo.